Let's see how long you last, Mom. You just told me you're tired from shopping.
Hello,
Hello?
it's Miracle Mom. Oh, right.
It is Miracle Mom and Michael. Correct. So tell me about your adventure today.
Oh, you don't want to know.
Yes, I do, actually.
Well, I haven't been out of this apartment, not even out the front door for probably 5 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was actually going to be my first question, but yeah.
So, Michelle came over and picked me and Vanessa up, and we went to do our mega shopping spree.
Yeah, like for 10 months. 10 months worth
For
of
4 months.
4 months worth of food or something.
Yes, 4 months, maybe even 5 when we got done. It's just the idea. I mean, it was absolutely humongous. And, I'm not used to all that activity, of course. So coming home, they had to do the heavy lifting. I just came upstairs and let them bring it all in and pile it around.
Well,
We started going through it.
before that, before we get to hauling it in, what was the store like? Was it just normal, or was it different? I mean, you hadn't been out in 5 months.
Yeah. Well, from the time that I hadn't been to the store even longer than that, but they actually have remodeled the store, and this is a huge store, but they've done a whole lot of remodeling, so I didn't know where anything was anymore. It's like walking into a brand new store, that you've never been in before.
Got it.
So that upset me right off the bat.
You were disoriented.
I was.
But there wasn't a line or anything you had to stand in.
No.
Did you have
No, it was.
Did you have a face mask on?
No, I didn't wear no mask.
Okay.
No way.
So it's different in different states. There's different standards in different states.
Yeah.
Like here, you go to the grocery store, there's, depending on the time of day, there's a line out the door, and
really?
there's
Really?
and everybody is spaced 6 feet apart from each other, and you have to wear.
Oh, you're kidding.
They won't let you in unless you're wearing a face mask, and there'll be a store employee at the front door, signaling when you can go in, and then there's a.
Oh my God.
Well, there's an entrance and an exit, so you can't go in the same way. You can't come out the same way you went in, and so then they have them wiping down the shopping carts and letting you, handing it off to you, and then the grocery store. I didn't notice this. In fact, I haven't followed this procedure yet, but they actually, in each aisle, it says one way, so you have to look down at the floor and make sure you're going in the right direction. I think most people haven't quite caught on to that, and that's pretty recent. That particular, this one store. Not all the stores are like that, but this one that we go to. So.
Well, there was none of that. It was all very normal. Like a shopping day before all this happened.
Right.
And there were a few customers who wore masks, and I noticed the ones who were wearing them were older people.
Yeah.
But there weren't that many. I maybe saw there probably were. It's a huge store, and there were probably, I don't know, maybe 25 people in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that number, probably 6 or 7 or 8 couples were wearing masks.
Gotcha.
But there was none of the 6-foot garbage, and it really felt like a normal shopping spree to me.
Yeah.
So
that's good. And to to continue with kind of the theme of this channel is your life has hardly changed at all. My life is upside down. Not just,
Yeah.
you stay at home all the time anyway, and so you've been sheltering in place. But in your part of the country, the regiment or the it's not so
Guidelines.
it's not so what's the term?
Gestapo.
Gestapo authoritarian. The you probably wouldn't get arrested if you were at the park,
No.
right? That's happening in certain places. You know,
Yeah.
arrested for surfing on the beach or surfing on the in the ocean. Um,
The thing though that's common probably is all businesses are shut down.
right. So there is a lot of
You know.
shuttered storefronts and
Right.
restaurants and stuff like that.
But people aren't angry and attacking you in the store because you're not wearing a mask and all that garbage.
Yeah. I was just I after you told me that Michelle was coming to take you to the store. After I got off, or after you said that, I thought later. I'm like, wait, mom's in a high risk category.
Yeah.
If you were here, there's not a chance I would let you go to the store. And in fact, one of the stores I go to say you can't come with. You have to come by yourself. You can't come with another person.
Oh wow.
So you have to have your list. If you're shopping for someone else, you have to have the list in hand. And
Okay.
so I would at first I'm like, oh no, I better call and make sure that they don't go together or whatever. They take the precautions and wear masks. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let them go do their thing, and I'll find out from mom when I call her.
No, see when we went in, they have a little box thing on a pole that has wipes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I don't even know if I don't think they're antibacterial wipes. They're just wipes.
right,
And it's up to you. If you want to grab a wipe and clean off the handle on the wagon, go ahead.
yeah, and that's
I
standard.
didn't do that.
That's standard practice for some
But
people.
that's always been there.
Yep,
That's
yep.
always been there.
I have a
It's not
friend.
because of this.
I have a friend who's a germaphobe, and
Oh,
he was laughing. I talked to him on the phone last week, and he goes, "Hey, I've been stocked up on hand sanitizer for years." He's like, "Welcome to my world, everybody."
and I don't mean to joke about it. I know it's very serious for some people, but
Yeah,
it's just so out of control. It's really sad.
I think there's a lot of overkill going on, and there are people that like the power, right? There are people
Of
that
course.
now I can arrest people for doing things I don't think they should do.
Right.
So
Let's see how far I can go with this.
yeah, and it's interesting because recently the attorney general said he's that that the executive branch is going to support any lawsuits, that any lawsuits that result from infringement
Yeah.
of certain constitutional rights. That the Justice Department is going to be behind that, and so what we're seeing. I mean, I didn't really intend to go into this in this segment, but we're seeing the nature of our country. It's federalism is when the states have authority and there's a federal oversight, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Right.
government that there are certain things that our country needs that only a federal government can take care of, like the defense, like the military, or interstate commerce, or there's certain things that the federal government is responsible for. But then there's there are huge, like the majority of our lives are or should be governed by our state governments, or state and local municipalities. And so from state to state, that's going to vary. You're going to have your blue states and your red
Yeah.
states and your purple states, and then you're going to have states that have one county is blue and
Right.
one county is red. And so there's this mixture, and then even within municipalities, so it's kind of shaking out who's who and what's what, and people are, some states are draconian in their measures, and some states haven't even
Right.
issued a lockdown. There's about 8 states that haven't even issued a stay at home order. And
Well,
go ahead.
there's something I need to say,
Go ahead.
and that is, knowing this from having been a nurse for 41 years, all of these masks that people are wearing and making their own, these masks, the hospital type masks that you see everyone wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, they do not protect from a virus. They protect from bacteria. Because the virus itself, the molecular weight of a virus is so much lighter than a bacteria.
Mm.
That a virus, when you breathe in and you breathe out, you can suck that virus right in.
Yeah.
You're not being told that. No one's being told that.
Well, there's a lot of science that's being ignored here.
Well, of course.
It's
Now, the lies that are being perpetrated.
What's fascinating.
Just
some people.
Horrendous.
It's like, man, we're gonna go on tangents here.
Oh, I know.
No, it's okay. But what what I'm seeing is, or what's being exposed is, certain media outlets, will get a piece of information, and then it'll be uttered by somebody that they respect and they trust, and then it becomes gospel. And then when that narrative changes, because this is a changing dynamic, right? We don't know much about this. Even now, we don't know much about this virus. And so inevitably, the narrative is going to change. But in the current media environment, when people quote a reliable source or a trusted source or a source that particular media outlet trusts, when they make this declaration, so and so said such and such, therefore that's the rule, and we're gonna legislate and we're gonna pass laws based on that. And then more information comes out, and even that expert says, you know what, we weren't exactly right then. It's actually more like this. It's almost impossible for that media outlet to then admit that they were wrong, or even they don't understand nuance. They're getting stuck. They're getting trapped. Like the hydrochloroquine is that medication is a perfect example, right? I mean, early on, you mentioned that that's a malaria drug. It's been around for 50 years, and medical professionals were saying this may help alleviate some of the symptoms. It may be useful, and so it's not officially tested, by FDA standards, etc. But it's cheap, and some people have said there's some anecdotal evidence that it's useful, and so the president gets up there and says, "Well, the experts are saying maybe this is going to work," and so just because it came out of the president's mouth, you're going to have one group of people that are full board for it, and one group of people that are adamant against it and passing laws against it. And then when it turns out, okay, it's effective, and maybe it's harmful to some people, but it's effective to some other people, and we're getting more information, and people end up, well, they should be eating crow and eating humble pie and saying, oh, we were wrong, because that's what science is. Science exposes and grows as information comes in and accumulates. The details change, or they were saying forever, don't wear masks because they won't protect you, and they'll give you a false sense of security. And then there's the theory that was the narrative because they were trying to discourage people from buying up all the masks, so the medical experts or the medical professionals wouldn't be shorted. And then I've heard what you said, and there's logic to both. Like if you have a mask that doesn't actually protect from viruses and gives you a false sense of security, maybe you're not being as careful. But also, a mask is going to at least filter something, and so the narrative keeps changing, and we need to have that posture of where we change with the narrative. We it's a matter of who do you trust, and
Well, if there's any doubt in your own mind, wear the mask.
yeah.
As
Well,
I say,
well,
just wear it.
for me, it's easy. I don't have a choice. I'm not even let in the store unless I'm wearing one. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, whether the mask works or not, I'm required to wear one. So, uh, you know, I was just curious to see how your shopping experience went.
It went very normal.
Yeah. So do you have boxes and boxes stacked up in the pantry or in the corner?
Bags and bags and bags. Yeah, we most of it's put away. I had Vanessa save out all the canned goods because I need to go through the pantry and, and rearrange
Got it. That's
things.
it's a
But
chore.
yeah, well, we for sure have 4 months of food.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
For sure.
Nice.
No question. Won't have to run to the store. See, now Michelle works at Menards, and Menards sells food products as well, believe it or not.
Right.
You know, a home supply store that's for all of your other household needs. They do have a section for food. So if I run out of milk, I can text her and she'll bring me a gallon of milk
Great. Yeah.
after she gets off work, that kind of thing. But, that won't happen for a while.
Nice.
So, we're all set here now.
So you got out of the house.
I got out of the house. Yes, I did. It was kind of strange. Kind of strange getting out of the house. And there isn't much traffic on the streets because all the businesses are shut down.
Yeah, that is nationwide.
But the parking lot was full
Yeah.
at the grocery store.
Yeah, the stores, that's the only place people can really go.
But there were also, certain shelves were empty
Hmm.
of certain items. That was kind of going on too. And
Yeah,
you could tell.
I've been watching it unfold earlier than some because the news sources that I listen to and rely upon, were were a little ahead of the mass media and the general population. I mean, I did my first bulk shopping 2 weeks before, you know, actually before the pandemic was. I think it was 2 to 3 weeks before it was declared a pandemic, and so the stores and the parking lots were jam packed. I'm like, I can't even get in a store right now if I want to, and I was glad
Yeah.
that I had already done some bulk shopping, but
Right.
I'd been paying attention the stores I go into. I remember before that I went into this. It's like a party store, a party supply store,
Uh-huh.
store that
You
I've
go
been
there a lot.
a store that I've been going to for like 10 years, never ever ever seen empty shelves. And this was weeks before, it really hit. And there was this whole big section, like both sides of the aisle were completely empty. And I'm like,
Wow.
this, party supplies, that must be the supply chain to China. They must have, some factories were shut down in January or even December probably, and that party supply store was probably getting some of their stuff straight from one of those factories because it was unusual.
Wow.
Sometimes they'll switch out displays as a seasonal change or whatever, but this was not. This was in January or
Wow.
February, and it was a huge section. I'm like, this. I even took out my camera and videotaped it. I'm like, is this the supply chain breaking down already? And then it just started getting worse and worse. It just started, when at the grocery stores, at every store, I'd go looking for certain things, and nope, that's gone. There's none of
Yeah.
those. So yeah, it's
Right.
You're documenting an unprecedented global event.
Yes, it is.
All right, Mom, let's get into this first. I have a list of segments I want to do. I don't know how much
All right.
energy. I don't know how much energy you have, but we'll just start at the top.
Okay.
Do you have those pictures I sent you?
Yeah. I opened that email.
All right. So I'm going to go through those. You know what? Let me wrap this behind the scenes. I don't even know what I'm going to call this segment. We talk about some interesting stuff in these behind the scenes, these first segments. It's like they're going to be their own segment now. So,
You can call it podcast analytics.
well, that's what this next segment's going to be called. Um,
Yeah.
Channel analytics or
I didn't know you could do all that.
Well, I'm going to run through it and show you what this stuff means. So you who are watching this segment, if you haven't seen the channel analytics segment, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but come back or search around and find it. But I'm going to wrap this one up.
Is this something that YouTube allows you to do? I mean, you
This
didn't
is
do
what
this yourself.
no, this is what they provide, and
Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
explain. There's a lot more to it than this, but this is the overview that
Yeah.
just going to
Interesting.
show you some of the features they have and what they mean. All right, I am slating.